Hey, what is up guys, this is Corb and oi, look at how many ancient shards we've got ready to pull, man, ready to rock and roll, and we are due an ancient shard pulling event anytime soon, which means that we're going to be opening all of these shards and hopefully getting our hands on, I mean, a legendary would be incredible, but plenty of epic champions. So the topic of this video is going to be talking about what kind of epic champions we could be hoping to pull on this account, on a new account that could do an incredible amount of work for us, right? We talk about epics that are easy to get your hands on, so non-void epics, and champs that just are good everywhere, that are very versatile, and that is exactly the kind of epic champs that you want on your early game account, right? They're just going to allow you to brute force things like early stages of Doom Tower, areas of the game that are otherwise just going to be shut off to you a little bit. Ideally, you want to be farming up to things like stage 10 of dungeons in the earliest months of your raid account. If you can hit stage 10 on dungeons, that means that during dungeon tournaments, you can farm up to 5-star quality gear for some pretty damn good sets for when you're starting out. And so these champs are hopefully going to help you to do that. But before we go ahead and get that done, hey man, if you're looking to start off a new raid Shadow Legends account, a new free-to-play adventure so that you can play along with the likes of my free-to-play account that I'm blasting right now, then make sure to start that new account by using the beginner promo link down below at the top of the video description, man. You can get your hands on Ugo as a starting champion, plus 3 additional epics after the Ugo as you level your account up towards account level 50. It's an incredible way to start off your new raid adventure, and just make sure that you are signed out of Clarion Player on PC before downloading raid with that link, just to ensure that you get your hands on all of these saucy rewards associated with this beginner link. Alright man, let's do this. Now the very first champion I am actually going to shout out immediately, because I think that this is a very kind of singular rare champion. I know we're going to be talking about epics mostly in this one, but Apothecary, man, was I extremely hyped to pull this guy on this free-to-play account, man, because not only does he have a triple hit on his A1, so he's going to help us out with damage into things like Clan Boss, and he's going to unlock the Fire Knight dungeon for us with this triple hitter. He's going to allow us to farm that all-important stage 10, because you want as many multiple attackers as you possibly can. Going into Fire Knight, he does that job for us, but he also brings a little bit of healing, which is great, and he brings the all-important strong version of increased speed on all allies for 2 turns, also filling the 10 meter of allies by 15% as well, which is basically as good as an epic champion's increase speed skill. In fact, it is literally as good as High Katoon's 10 meter booster and increased speed skill on her A2. And yeah, she's an epic quality champ that you'd otherwise get after 30 days, you know? And so I think that Apothecary is well worth a mention, even if he's not an epic champion. Super high priority little nerd to be looking out for as you are pulling even your mystery shards, you know? With being a rare champ, so accessible, you can pull him from the greens. So, off to a decent enough start. Now, epic champions that are just good everywhere, man, and this is a champ that I don't see get mentioned enough. We're going to be starting off in the Sylvan Watchers faction with good old Ruella, man. I wanted to start off with Ruella because she just doesn't get spotlighted enough for me, and honestly, again, she's just awesome everywhere, dude, and helps to unlock certain dungeons for you as well, man. Once again, she's got a triple hitter on the A1 with each critical hit, so you have to build her out with 100% crit, but each hit has a chance of stealing 5% of the target's 10 meter. When this is fully booked up, it's 100% chance. It's 15% 10 meter steal on a triple hitter. So good into Fire Knight. And because it's not attacking at random, it's also excellent for controlling the Spider's 10 meter as well in Spider's Den. So she just helps you out in 2 dungeons right off the very get-go. Then, on the A2, attacks one enemy 3 times, so another triple hitter. Each hit with a chance of placing a strong version of decreased defense, weaken, and strong version decreased speed debuff for 2 turns. Dude, like, this is really good. Decreased defense and weaken against Clan Boss? Excellent. Like, these are excellent skills to be bringing into Demon Lord Clan Boss. Again, we talk about beginner accounts here, you know, these are some premium debuffs that you're looking to collect up. And then of course, these debuffs are helpful everywhere, obviously. Decreased speed, goddamn Spider's Den all over again. A lot of bosses in the game, anything that you can decrease the speed of, strong version, very good indeed. And then on the A3, it doesn't stop there really. Bookable down to a 310 cooldown, fill the 10 meter of all allies by 20%, and increase the crit rate of all allies by 30% for 2 turns. yeah, just a little bit of something extra there, I guess. The most impressive bit about this is, of course, going to be the 10-meter fill. You know, if you're looking to build your very first, like, go-first style arena teams when you're just starting out in Raid, especially in something like Tag Arena, where you need multiple champs like that, potentially, Ruella's going to help you out, man. She's just good everywhere. She's like one of those champs that's like a 6 or a 7 out of 10. Kind of everywhere, man. I think that she is one of the unsung heroes in this game. Blasting on ahead into the Orcs. Dude, this is another champ that's just... I mean, look at him. This is another one of those champs that's just really quite excellent everywhere in the game. So on his A1, he's got himself a double hitter. Not quite a triple, but, you know, also brings strong version of decreased accuracy, which is fine. Mostly a nice to have, just a solid A1. On the A2, he's got himself an attack all enemies with a chance of placing a strong version of decreased attack and strong version of decreased defense. Does require maybe slightly more than average skill books overall, but for me, well worth it if you pull Duck the Pierced early. Just two of the most powerful debuffs in the game that, again, are useful everywhere. Wave content, bosses, you name it. Duck the Pierced has got it covered, right? Not only that, but dude, the control this guy brings on his A3, it is a 4-turn cooldown, but place a provoke debuff for 1 turn on the target enemy. Also has a 75% chance of placing a provoke debuff for 1 turn on 2 additional random enemies. Dude, this is really good. Like, it's just excellent wave control. And, like, Duck the Pierced is one of those champs that's just going to trivialize basically all wave content when you are getting started in this game. And he'll continue to scale into your account for quite a long time indeed. Duck the Pierced, man. Oh my god, would I love to have a champ like good old Duck on this free-to-play, man. Next up, a champ that people actually covered just now in the chat. We're actually streaming this live just now as we are shooting this video. We've got good old Stag Knight. And there he is, man. Good old Stag Knight in Bannerlords. Boom, there we go, man. I swear I didn't look for him in Sacred Order or anything like that. Okay, man. The A1. He's got himself a double hitter as well. Each hit with a chance of placing a strong version of decreased speed debuff for a couple of turns. So he's got that, like, slight advantage on Duck the Pierced. Decreased speed is generally going to be a bit more valuable in more areas of the game than decreased accuracy, but not a bad A1. And then on his A2, attacks all enemies, and just like Duck the Pierced, has a... Man, what the hell chance is this? This is a 95% chance? Fully booked up? My eyes playing tricks on me? That's a 95% chance. That's so random. Anyway, it has a 95% chance of placing the strong version of decreased defense and decreased attack debuff for 2 turns. So just bringing all of the important stuff. And that's Stag Knight. Another champ that the chat actually pointed out real quick as we were setting up to shoot this video on the live is, of course, going to be Deacon Armstrong. This is just well accepted as one of the, I don't know, A+, if not S tier support style epics in this game. Spirit Affinity, so very easy to just randomly pull this guy from an ancient shard. The A1, once again, is another double hitter, which again, that's going to be a bit of a theme with these champs, right? A lot of them do have these multiple hitters, and so they can do a little bit of a job for you for getting started in areas like Fire Knight. For Deacon, it's a chance of placing leech debuffs, so just a bit of healing spread across your entire team. On the A2, it's an attack all enemies, 100% chance booked of placing the strong version of decreased defense for a couple of turns, and then it's 10 meter manipulation for Deacon. Fills the 10 meter of all allies by 15% and decrease the 10 meter of all enemies by 15%, then get that extra turn. This is of course great against all wave content. It's great into Spider's Den in particular, reducing the 10 meter of all of the little spiderlings as well as the boss itself. But it's also great into Arena too, because Deacon comes along with an increased ally speed in all battles by 19%, making it much easier for you to just build out your Deacon with speed, allow him to go first in somewhere like Arena, and now you've got yourself a go first style Arena team. So he's also going to help you out in the PvP too, man. Good old Deacon. What an absolute Giga Chad. Don't let that owl face fool you, man. What a beautiful beard he has. We're actually going to talk about Tagore real quick here as well, man, because frankly, the Orc faction, and this is a point to consider, sucks. Okay, well, they don't suck, okay, but they have a lot of powerful options that are like really quite strong, and that's great. But realistically, as far as like epic champs and rare champs go, the Orc faction, it's just kind of crappy. I do think that increases the value of, we've already covered, of course, Duck the Pierced. There are not that many good, like very standout epic champions among the orcs. To be honest, C is a good void epic, but she's kind of tough to get your hands on. We're going to go ahead and spotlight good old Tagore, man. He's got another double hitter on his A1, which is great. Place a strong version of increased defense buff for 2 turns on the ally with the lowest current HP, which is honestly very, very solid. I like this a lot for an A1 for a support style champion. He brings it to attack all enemies on the A2, places a strong version of increased speed buff on allies for 2 turns, then heals all allies by 15% of Tagore's max HP. And so you can just build him out to be super, super tanky, and that heal is going to scale up like a good one. It's going to be great. Just very, very solid support skills overall. I actually forgot how good this A2 was, man, which is why Tagore wasn't originally included in this list. And then, of course, he brings a AoE revive as well on his A3. And so I think that Tagore is well worth a mention on this list, even if you're probably not going to max him up right away to level 60 as a new player. If you do pull him, he's well worth taking up to level 50, and then you can develop him into a level 60 at a later date, you know, a couple months down the line or whatever, as you see fit, man. So yeah, we'll go ahead and throw Tagore in there as well. I should also point out as well at this point in the video that we're really talking here about champions that are super, super good to pull very, very early on in your account for now, but we're also going to talk about some champions that are quite versatile towards the end of the video that also scale up to be useful in areas like Hydra, right? The more late game areas, and so you can definitely take some of the later champs in this video up to level 60 and basically have no regrets at all, right? But for now, it's the much, much more early game stuff. I am going to go ahead and call out good old Thalesia here, man. Good old Thalesia. I pulled myself a Thalesia before I got my War Maiden up to level 50, and I needed a champ that brought the strong version of decreased defense at 100% land rate. Thalesia was just a solid upgrade, a solid hop up on War Maiden. The thing I like about Thalesia is if you pull her super, super early on, what you can actually do is build her out to be a debuffer, so she's bringing decreased defense. Her A2 is another attack all enemies that increases the duration of debuffs on enemies by 110. But the good thing about Thalesia is that while she brings those important skills, that important utility, she hits hard, man. She can actually kind of smack. She's squishy, so she's not going to be able to scale into super high level content without like major gear struggles and stuff like that. Like she's going to struggle into anything beyond like hard Hydra, and even then it's a bit of a challenge to keep her alive. But what she can do is double up as like a secondary nuker and almost like a hybrid debuffer at the same time, man. So Thalesia, I think she's versatile enough that I consider her to be a decent enough inclusion on this list. It's 2 attack all enemy skills as well, man. You can't sniff at stuff like that if you build her out with a 100% crit and just some decent damage. Next up, man, we're going to cover a slightly more obvious champ here, but we got to touch on Tyrell. This guy is, yeah, old but gold, literally in this case, man. What a lovely mask he has. On the A1, he brings the strong version of decrease attack again on a double hitter. It's funny, man. I didn't actually notice all of these double hitters and triple hitters when I was making this list, but there you go. He's another one with a double hitter, which, again, finite utility. Great. Decrease attack. Good everywhere. Particularly good into clan boss because this is a very, very high land rate decrease attack because it's on each hit of this double hitter that he has a chance to apply it. So very, very good. On the A2, attack all enemies. 100% chance bugged of placing a strong decreased defense debuff for a couple of turns. And if he's already applied the decreased attack debuff to an enemy, he'll also put that enemy to sleep with his A2 as well. So that's fine. And then on the A3, attacks one enemy, decrease the target's turn meter by 50%. If the attack fully depletes the target's turn meter, it places that stun debuff for a couple of turns, which is just good into wave content, really. But the 10 meter decrease, good into Spider, good into Fire Knight. It's going to help you out in those early dungeons that are otherwise just a bit of a pain in the trying to think of a politically correct descriptor that I can use on YouTube. Buttocks. Okay, we'll just go with that. Tyrell, yeah, he's one of those champs that, again, is going to fall off as your account develops. Once you're like 6 months in, you might end up replacing him. But early days, he just does so much stuff pretty well that he's well worth taking on up. On into the Banner Lords. I do believe we're going to find Giscard here waiting for us. His A1, chance of placing that strong version of decreased attack. So, great if you need that on one of your teams. Giscard could be your man. The attack all enemies on his A2 with a 75% chance fully bucked up, replacing the provoke debuff for 110. Also place a shield buff on this champion equal to 25% of his max HP for a couple of turns. So just great wave control with Giscard. And then on his A3 brings both the strong version of increased defense and increased attack on all allies for 2 turns as well. Again, just buffs that are good everywhere, buffs that are going to help you out a lot into the likes of early clan boss when you're just getting started in the game. Yeah, I think that Giscard again is one of those champs. Giscard the, as every other raid content creator calls him, Giscard the Sigiled. Sigiled, bro. Oh my god, I've accidentally done that in a couple of my videos as well, man. Giscard the Sigiled. People not doing him justice, dude, but there you go, man. Good old Giscard, dude. Now, for the champs that are going to not only be good for you in the early game, but these champs you can feel pretty damn comfortable about taking up to max level, even if you pull them like, I don't know, anytime in like the first 6 months, probably, you're going to be taking them up to max. Definitely the first champ that we're going to cover all up and over here, which is, of course, going to be Ugo. Ugo bringing the leech debuff on the A1, so just general healing for your entire team, which is great. The strong version of decreased defense on the A2 on an attack all enemies. Also has a, I guess, fully booked 75% chance of placing the block buffs debuff for 2 turns, and the chance of placing this increases by 5% for each alive enemy, which is a huge deal because the block buffs debuff is like an integral component of your Hydra clan boss teams. And so while it might not be super relevant to you that Ugo does that while you're very early on in your account, you can rest assured that you will be using Ugo. I mean, we're like 99% certainty in your early Hydra clan boss teams. For like a long time to come as well. Ugo also brings a little bit of healing and debuff removal. Also great into Hydra, but generally speaking, just a very good champion in the super early game as well. That is guaranteed to scale up for you on your account. And of course, Ugo is sort of like the main feature of our beginner sign-up link, which we've already covered, so I ain't gonna dip into that one again, but yeah, man. That's why this beginner sign-up link is so goddamn good, man. It actually worked with like a Plarian representative. I was like, bro, we need Ugo as the starting champion. It's going to be good forever. And then every other champion we picked in this beginner sign-up link was designed to just be as like progression friendly as humanly possible. You know what I'm saying? So that's the whole idea behind our beginner promo link, which, I mean, as always, is down below in the video description if and when you need it. All right, man. Undead Hordes, it's time to talk about Husk. This is another champ that's just great in the early game, brings all kinds of control for wave content in your account, which is awesome, but is also going to scale up into Hydra as well and just deal some pretty stupendous damage for you when you are just getting started into Hydra for the first time. The A1, another double hitter, here we go again, man, has a 40% chance of placing a provoke debuff for 110. So not the most reliable provoke, but it's a little bit of something extra that goes on top of the A2, which is an attack all enemies, and then has a, what the hell is this, 60% chance of placing a stun debuff for 110 when fully booked. Most importantly though, damage is based on enemy max HP. This is a huge deal. This means that you're going to be dealing percentage style damage to bosses with super high health. We're talking the likes of basically all dungeon bosses are going to get smacked by this skill. Spider in particular, very vulnerable to this. This is great into Spider because the stun is also going to control the Spiderlings. It's going to do huge damage to all bosses, including Hydra, right? And so what you want to be doing with Husk a little bit later on in the game is what some people do actually is build him out in a 4-piece reflex set. They just disable the A3 and make it so that Husk is just spamming the crap out of his A2 as much as possible, and that way the reflex set gives you that 40% chance of reducing the cooldown of a random skill by 110. Well, it's always going to hit the A2 if you've disabled the A3, right? And so you're just spamming out these AoE hits on the Hydra heads as much as you possibly can, and just pumping a crap load of damage via your Husk. He will be outskilled eventually in Hydra, but you can rest assured that if you max this guy up, you pull him in like the first 2 months of your raid account, yeah, you're going to find a lot of use for this guy for at least like the next year of your raid account. You know what I'm saying? So Husk is definitely a very good egg to take up. Next up, man, some more support style champs. Somebody already mentioned this in the chat as well. It's got to be Doom Priest. This champion might actually be the biggest surprise game changer I've ever had on my raid account, man. Like, Okay, I mean, and this is coming from somebody who won the Archer Queen in a tournament. So maybe I can't actually say that, but she's excellent. Okay, very, very simple kit. Just an attack, is like single target hitter. Kind of like meh, A1, who cares about that? The A2, she brings the strong version of increased attack on all allies, which is fine, you know. It's something. It's all about her passive, dude. Heals all allies by 7.5% of the HP and removes one random debuff from them at the start of Doom Priest's turn. Now, the cool thing about this passive is that even if your Doom Priest is literally like provoked, or like is under like a true fear debuff or something and has a real chance of just missing a turn, she just cleanses it from herself with her passive and then takes her turn and like buffs with the increased attack. Like, she just can't be controlled, dude. So all you want to do is build her as fast as humanly possible, and you can even put her in like a relentless set if you want, so she has a chance of getting like an extra turn as well, so then she's triggering multiple of her passive in a single go, right? Because she's getting the extra turn. The amount of healing she pumps out and the debuff, she basically makes your team debuff immune into like a lot of areas of the game, which the value of that might not be super apparent for a new player. Like, it wasn't for me. It surprised me how good it was, especially when I started going into Hydra. The ability to just constantly remove provokes and anti-healing and like the true fears that Hydra places. Like, Doom Priest is an MVP, dude. She's not just good in the early game, she's just good everywhere, and she's way better than she might seem at first glance. Okay, man, another champ that is way better than he seems at first glance as well. It's going to be Royal Guard. Royal Guard has a, 65% chance on his A1 of placing the strong version of decreased defense, which is just fantastic. This thing seems to land quite a lot, to be honest. It's got a pretty damn good land rate. It feels like more than 65% is what I'm saying. On his A2, he's going to attack all enemies. Damage increases according to, once again, enemy max HP. It also scales a little bit with his attack as well, but yeah, this thing... Dude, I don't have my Royal Guard built out in the best possible gear on my main account. He's built out pretty good. I'm pretty happy with him. I use him in a couple of areas of the game still to this day, and I'm 9 months in. And he hits for like 500,000. You know, quite comfortably. Sometimes a lot more even as well, if the debuffs and the buffs really line up against certain bosses. I use him into Fire Knight. I use him into... I still use him into Ice Golem. He does a great job there. He can also help you out into Spider as well. And the reason I think he's good for a beginner account is because, well, not only is he going to help you kill off bosses very quickly, and that's great, but it's also because of his A3. Attacks 4 times at random, each hit with a 75% chance bucked of placing the strong version of decreased speed for a couple of turns. Each hit also has a chance of decreasing the target's turn meter by 25%. So this is not that useful into Spider. There's just too many Spiderlings all over the boss chamber that this attack can randomly hit into, but it's very good for helping you get started once again into Fire Knight. It makes Royal Guard much more useful into wave content, which is great. It's exactly what you need for progressing in early stages of Doom Tower and stuff like that. And so Royal Guard, I think he's well worth a mention as one of the champs that is great to pull early. And yeah, he's another one that's going to scale well into the late game. The next is actually another gosh darn high elf. Where is he? Skoramis. This is the man. Dude, this guy is a Giga Chad. Can I just say? I mean, just look at him, first of all. Just respect him. Like, oh my god. His A1 attacks one enemy, has a, bookable up to a 90% chance of stealing 15% of the target's turn meter. Also has a 20% chance, or 30% booked, of placing a stun debuff for 1 turn if the target's turn meter is fully depleted by this skill. Now I'm going to go ahead and skip to his passive. Remember this bit, boys. Never mind, it's not a passive, it's the A3. What the hell am I talking about? The A3 has a 100% chance of placing a provoke debuff on all enemies for 1 turn on a 3-turn cooldown. Very good, reliable AoE provoke, lovely. Also place a counter attack and a 15% continuous heal buff on Skoramis for 2 turns. What does that mean? It means that if he has the counterattack buff active, then the son of a gun is going to get... First of all, he places the provoke, right? Then an enemy attacks into him while he has counterattack. Then he swings back in to that enemy with his A1, which has the 30% chance of placing the stun if the target's turn meter is fully depleted by the skill. Well, if they've just attacked you, they have no turn meter, meaning you will guaranteedly fully deplete their turn meter. And so you have that constant 30% chance of stunning anybody who attacks in that's provoked, which is just insane. Like, for wave control, Skoramis is just... He might be the best wave control epic in the game. I'm going to go ahead and say it. When it comes to just wave content, is there anybody actually better at just outright controlling the crap out of waves? I don't think so, man. And his A2 is no joke either. Attacks all enemies, decrease the duration of all enemy buffs by 1/10, so a little bit of buff peel, lovely. Also has a chance of placing, 75% chance of placing strong version of decreased attack for a couple of turns, and fills the champion's turn meter by 10% for each buff that has its duration decreased. So an extra little freebie at the end there as well. Some people actually use Skaramis as like a budget option provoker into Hydra. There's some interesting ways you can build him out if you've got like super good gear and the gear for it. If you can build him with like crazy good speed, he can get the provoke up quite often, if not 100% successfully. 100% uptime against the Head of Decay, which is great. But because he's also buffing himself with continuous heal and counterattack, the Head of Mischief is going to prioritize attacking him and trying to steal these buffs. So if you can also get the gear in order so that he has like 400 plus resistance, and he's resisting all of those Mischief attempts to steal his buffs, then he's also a Mischief tank, and he can just do a hell of a lot. That's obviously all very gear dependent, and while that's not going to be something that you can do if you're just starting out in Raid or you're just getting started in Hydra, it's going to be really tough to set up your Skaramis that way. It's an interesting option, and so I think he's worth putting in with the batch of champs that are worth taking up to level 60 that are also just excellent to have in the early game. Next champ we got to touch on is good old Neldor Rhymeblade. Man, this guy, absolute Giga Chad. Almost forgot about him until multiple people in the live chat actually reminded me about this guy. On his A1, actually, it's another triple hitter, so it's going to help you out in, again, just multiple areas of the game, namely Fire Knight to help you get started through cracking his shield, and also each hit has a 30% chance or 40% chance bucked of placing a freeze debuff for 1 turn. And so, dude, Neldor is bringing a crazy amount of value and control already on his A1, and it's also important to note that freeze debuffs are going to be key for you killing off hard mode Fire Knight way later on in your account, right? Freeze debuffs like this, especially on a triple hitter, hard mode Fire Knight, these debuffs are required, okay? So Neldor will always, well, 99% of the time, find value in the super late stages of your account as well as the early game. So very important to note, man. That's just the A1. The A2 attacks one enemy 4 times. Again, just great help for breaking through Fire Knight shields when you're getting started there. First hit and second hit have a chance to place decrease attack debuff for 2 turns. And the third and fourth hit have a chance of placing decrease accuracy. Just fine. Decreased attack is obviously going to help you out more in the early game, which is the main topic of this video. And then on the A3, attacks all enemies 2 times. Each hit has a 75% chance bucked of placing the strong version of decreased speed for 2 turns. Also heals Neldor a little bit as well. So yeah, he's not just a one-trick pony. He's not just going to help you out into bosses. The freezes on his A1, the decreased speed on the A3, going to help you out into all wave content as well. So Neldor Rhymeblade, got to be mentioned in this happy little video. Before we go ahead and wrap it up, the final champ that we gotta touch on is a champ I don't touch on enough personally in my own videos. I know other people do give him respect. It's time to give him some respect. Taragi the Frog. Why do I think this guy is worth building out? Well, he brings the strong version of decreased attack on his A1, which is just excellent. It's great into Clan Boss in particular because of the rest of Taragi's kit, but it's just kind of good everywhere as well. To be fair. The A2, it's an attack all enemies with a chance of placing provoke debuff for 1 turn, so great. Not a super reliable provoke, to be honest. It's going to help you out into wave content, not going to be that reliable against bosses, though the chance does increase by 5% for each debuff on the enemy team, so it can be made a bit more reliable, but yeah, he's not chiefly a provoker, first and foremost. The A3 places a shield buff on this champ equal to 50% of this champ's max HP, and an ally protect buff on all allies, which is grand. Also heals this champion by 25% of his max HP and places a reflect damage buff on him for 3 turns. Lovely. The heal is also increased by each poison debuff on the enemy team. So he is a poison style champ. Brings all kinds of just additional survivability to your team via the provokes, via the ally protect, the shielding on himself, the decreased attack on the A1. Where he really shines though is his passive. He's another one of those, man. When attacked, 50% chance of placing a strong poison debuff on the attacker for 2 turns. Occurs once per hit. So what this means is Clan Boss, great. Taragi is going to be placing all kinds of debuffs against the Clan Boss, which the rest of his kit complements into pretty well with the decreased attack and stuff like that. So he's going to do a good amount of work for you into the Demon Lord Clan Boss. But the reason I'd recommend maxing up your Taragi is because as a new player, there's certain bosses in the Doom Tower that are really, just really tough to get past. Like, to build a full team to take on the likes of like Scarab King in Doom Tower. Are you kidding me? Scarab King, dude. That boss is the most obnoxious piece of crap in the world when you're getting started in Raid, and it takes forever if you want to build out a full champion team to get that boss done. What you can do is instead, if you've got a max level Taragi left over that you've been using like in the early game and stuff, you can build your Taragi in a regeneration set, put him in like 2 pieces of immortal gear as well, so he's getting tons of health regen, just as much healing as you can possibly get on the guy. You don't have to build him out with resistance, but you can build him with resistance as well. You'll need like 150 resistance for normal mode Doom Tower. Gets a lot more in hard mode, obviously, but so that you protect his buffs as well, and make sure that he doesn't get provoked against Scarab King. And you're just building him to survive, right? Regeneration set, all the healing in the world, high HP, high speed, so that he takes as many turns as possible and is healing a lot, and he just has to live. And his poisons will kill the boss, man. And so it's a very easy way that you can just cheese your way through some of the toughest bosses like that in Doom Tower. Just lots of health, lots of speed, regeneration set, let the poisons kill the boss. That's really all there is to it, man. And that is Taragi the Frog. And I do believe that this is a guy that is absolutely worth taking up to a level 60, man. So, hey, man, if there's any champs that you feel like I've missed in this happy little video, then make sure to plop them down in the comments down below. We're talking, again, epic champs that are just good everywhere, going to help out beginner players by a hell of a lot into just multiple areas of the game that are nice and versatile, and that hopefully, like the last few champs that we covered, can also scale up into later stages of the game as well. Now, of course, if you're looking to start off a new Raid account, there is simply no better way to do it than by clicking on the beginner promo link down below in the description box. Sign out of Plarium Play, click on that link to download Raid, and you're going to get yourself 4 free epic champions, man. A lot of champs, actually, that we covered in this video and in other videos recently, man. You're going to start off your account with Ugo, one of the best epic champions in the game, and then a whole bunch of other champs that are going to help you to progress through the game, including the clan boss specialist Fane at account level 40, man. It's just a great beginner promo link, man. So make sure you hit that to create a new Raid account. Alright, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you all did enjoy this one, and I'm going to catch all of y'all just a tad bit later, man.